back to our channel on this beautiful, dramatic day. We are absolutely thrilled to dive deep into the latest explosive developments sweeping through Genoa City. The shifting alliances and shattered loyalties we are about to witness will undoubtedly alter the landscape of our favorite daytime drama forever. Let us unpack the monumental shockwebs currently tearing apart the Newman Empire. For decades, the impenetrable fortress of the Newman Empire has been guarded by one brilliant, morally flexible legal strategist. Michael Baldwin has served as the ultimate shield and the sharpest sword for the Newman patriarch, navigating the treacherous waters of corporate espionage and high-stakes cover-ups. The symbiotic relationship between these two titans has always been predicated on deeply buried secrets. Michael possesses an encyclopedic knowledge of every skeleton hidden within the sprawling closets of the Newman estate. He knows where the bodies are buried because he was the architect who helped conceal them. This intimate proximity to power has granted Michael unparalleled influence, but it has also tethered his soul to the dark machinations of a man who demands absolute loyalty. The sheer volume of classified information residing in Michael's mind makes him the most dangerous man in Genoa City, a reality that is suddenly becoming a terrifying nightmare for the patriarch. The psychological stakes for the Newman patriarch have never been higher. As the mastermind behind an incredibly sophisticated, artificial intelligence-driven framing plot designed to reclaim his stolen empire, he requires his inner circle to be completely locked down. The mere thought of his right-hand man turning rogue sends a chilling tremor down his spine. He recognizes that if this brilliant attorney decides to weaponize the decades of confidential strategies and corporate sabotage they have orchestrated together, the entire Newman legacy could be reduced to ashes. It is a profound vulnerability for a man who famously despises weakness. The patriarch is now forced to grapple with a paralyzing paranoia, wondering if he possesses the courage to sever ties with the only legal mind capable of anticipating his every move. Firing his most trusted confidant is a declaration of total war against a man who holds the keys to his absolute destruction. On the other side of this impending catastrophe stands a lawyer torn between a highly lucrative alliance and a profound, historic friendship. The decision to represent a fierce, fiery redhead against the wrath of the Newman machine is not one made lightly. This legal eagle is acutely aware that stepping into the courtroom to defend the woman who orchestrated a hostile takeover of his boss's company is tantamount to professional suicide. Yet, the bonds of deep, enduring friendship and a mutual protection pact forged over years of shared trauma compel him to act. He is watching his closest confidant being cornered by a flawless, digitally fabricated illusion, and his conscience refuses to let her face the federal penal system alone. This agonizing internal conflict pushes him to make a definitive, life-altering choice, prioritizing loyalty to a vulnerable friend over the terrifying demands of his ruthless employer. The stage for this monumental confrontation is set at the sprawling, iconic Newman Ranch, a place currently suffocating under the weight of severe familial distress. The atmosphere is incredibly tense, thick with the unhealed wounds of a family in crisis. The prodigal son, currently battling the grueling early stages of a severe substance abuse recovery, is desperately attempting to mediate a fractured peace between his warring parents. He is pouring his fragile, emotionally exhausted heart out, begging his father to bridge the massive, toxic divide that has alienated his mother. The sheer emotional toll of navigating a brutal outpatient rehabilitation program while simultaneously trying to glue his shattered family back together has left the son entirely depleted. It is a moment of profound vulnerability, a rare instance where the impenetrable walls of the Newman patriarch might just be softening to the desperate pleas of his suffering child. It is precisely at this highly volatile, emotionally charged juncture that the veteran attorney decides to make his grand entrance. The timing could not possibly be more disastrous. Stepping onto the sacred grounds of the ranch, he unwittingly walks directly into the crossfire of this intense familial mediation. The heavy, suffocating tension in the room is palpable, with the air practically crackling with unresolved grief and simmering resentment. The lawyer, carrying the immense weight of his impending betrayal, stands before the patriarch, ready to drop a legal bombshell that will shatter whatever fragile peace the exhausted son was attempting to construct. The juxtaposition of the son's desperate plea for family unity and the lawyer's imminent declaration of professional warfare creates a masterclass in dramatic irony, setting the stage for an explosion of epic proportions. With a steadying breath and an unwavering gaze, the attorney looks his longtime employer directly in the eye and delivers the devastating news. He formally announces his decision to take on the defense of the fiery redhead, firmly planting his flag on the opposite side of the battlefield. The sheer audacity of challenging the Newman patriarch within the very walls of his own sanctuary is staggering. The lawyer does not flinch, presenting his choice not as a personal attack, but as an unavoidable obligation to a lifelong friend in desperate need. However, in the binary, black and white world of the ruthless patriarch, there is no room for nuance or divided loyalties. You are either a devoted soldier in his army, or you are a treacherous enemy marked for absolute annihilation. The reaction from the patriarch is nothing short of volcanic. A terrifying, unadulterated rage consumes him, his features twisting into a mask of pure, vindictive fury. He perceives this legal representation not just as a conflict of interest, but as an ultimate, unforgivable betrayal. The very foundation of his trust is shattered, replaced instantly by a burning desire for immediate retribution. He unleashes a torrent of vitriol, condemning the attorney for his disloyalty and branding him a traitor to the family that elevated him to power. In a dramatic, explosive climax, he violently banished his former right-hand man from the estate, severing a decades-long partnership in a matter of seconds. The sheer volume of his wrath echoes through the halls of the ranch, leaving his recovering son to witness the terrifying, destructive power of his father's uncompromising pride. This explosive banishment may very well prove to be the most catastrophic strategic blunder the patriarch commits throughout the entire month of May. In his blinding rage, he has failed to calculate the monumental risk of alienating a man who knows the exact architecture of his empire's darkest secrets. The mustachioed titan has just transformed his most brilliant, capable protector into his most knowledgeable and dangerous adversary. When the dust settles and the adrenaline fades, the chilling reality of this fractured alliance will undoubtedly begin to haunt the patriarch. He has essentially handed the opposing side a loaded weapon, a legal mastermind who understands exactly how the Newman machine operates, how it hides its indiscretions, and exactly how it can be dismantled from the inside out. Meanwhile, the immediate aftermath of the arrest is unfolding at the heavily contested Summers conglomerate. The fiery redhead, having just been bailed out of a terrifying, humiliating stint behind bars, is pacing like a caged lioness. She reunites with her newly appointed legal counsel and her fiercely loyal best friend, the attorney's wife. The atmosphere in the corporate office is a volatile mixture of palpable fear, suffocating anxiety, and an unyielding, trademark defiance. She is desperately trying to project strength, weaponizing her victimhood and her sharp intellect to mask the paralyzing terror of potentially returning to a federal prison cell. The reunion is fraught with tension, as the reality of her dire legal predicament begins to set in, casting a dark, ominous shadow over her recent corporate victory. The strategy session that follows is a grim exploration of an almost impossible legal nightmare. The brilliant defense attorney lays out the brutal facts, warning his client that fighting this battle will be an excruciating, uphill climb. The crux of the dilemma lies in the sheer perfection of the patriarch's digitally fabricated evidence. The artificial intelligence program has generated a trail of forgery that is virtually indistinguishable from reality. The attorney explains the agonizing paradox they face. They must somehow prove that this incredibly realistic evidence is a complete fabrication, while simultaneously protecting the undeniable truth that his client did, in fact, orchestrate a highly illegal, hostile takeover. Navigating this treacherous legal minefield without exposing her actual crimes requires a level of strategic genius that even this seasoned lawyer finds daunting. Adding an immense layer of suffocating pressure to this already impossible situation is the newly reinstated district attorney. This prosecutor harbors a deep, historical, and deeply personal vendetta against the fiery redhead, a bitter rivalry spanning decades of mutual destruction. The defense attorney warns his client that the prosecutor is highly motivated to secure a conviction and avoid the spectacle of a prolonged trial. However, if the defense refuses to back down and the case proceeds to a courtroom battle, the district attorney will unleash the full, devastating power of the state, pursuing her target with a relentless, vindictive ferocity. The looming threat of this legal executioner forces the defense team to consider every possible outcome, including the highly undesirable prospect of negotiating a plea deal to avoid total annihilation. Yet, anyone familiar with the psychology of this fierce, independent businesswoman knows that surrendering is simply not in her vocabulary. The idea of accepting a plea deal and quietly handing back the keys to the empire she fought so ruthlessly to claim is entirely unfathomable. Her entire identity, her sense of self-worth, and her desperate need to prove her dominance are inextricably linked to the Summers conglomerate. She has never backed down from a fight in her entire life, and she is certainly not about to start now, even with the terrifying specter of federal prison looming over her. She would rather risk everything, gambling her freedom and her future on a microscopic chance of victory, than bow her head and submit to the tyrannical demands of the man who framed her. Watching these lifelong relationships fracture under the crushing weight of pride and corporate greed evokes a profound sense of melancholy. There is a deeply tragic beauty in witnessing the limits of loyalty being tested so brutally in Genoa City. My heart aches for the painful sacrifices these characters are forced to make, choosing between the safety of their powerful alliances and the raw, vulnerable duty they owe to their oldest friends. It is genuinely devastating to see decades of shared history between a brilliant lawyer and a ruthless patriarch disintegrate in a single moment of unbridled rage. As an observer, I cannot help but feel a deep, empathetic sorrow for the collateral damage left in the wake of these titans clashing. It reflects the darkest parts of human nature, where ambition and survival violently eclipse forgiveness, leaving a trail of shattered hearts. The battle lines have been officially drawn, and the collateral damage is proving to be catastrophic. With a brilliant legal mind now actively working against the very empire he helped build, and a defiant corporate queen refusing to surrender her stolen throne, the stage is set for a war that will shake the foundations of the city. Will the patriarch's blind rage be his ultimate undoing, or will his digital deception secure his ultimate victory? We want to hear from you as this epic saga unfolds. Where do your loyalties lie in this explosive corporate and legal warfare? Please email our editor amber@soapopramagazine.com and let us know whose side you are taking in this monumental clash. Stay tuned, because the drama is only just beginning.